Introduction to Appium. Introduction to Appium. Official website is apm.io. apm.io. Introduction to Appium. Appium is an open source test automation framework. Some are saying tool, but as for official cited documentation, open source test automation framework. But some are calling as tool. But in Appium.io, official website of Appium, you can find this term, test automation framework. Appium is an open source test automation framework for automating mobile software applications, launched in 2012. See, Appium is an open source code available on net. Anybody can download and use. Test automation framework for automating mobile software applications. Say we have two types of software. Primarily, we have two types of software. One is computer software, that is major thing, computer software. Next, mobile software. Nowadays, it is increasing. Mobile software, computer software, mobile software. In computer software, you can find desktop applications, web applications, etc. categories of software applications. In mobile software also, we have three types of mobile software applications. Appium supports those three types of mobile software applications. Just a brief idea about mobile software applications. Appium supports all three types of mobile software applications. See, three types of mobile software applications. One is native applications, native apps or native applications. Native apps or native applications. Next, web apps or web applications. Mobile web apps or web applications. Next, hybrid applications. Hybrid apps or hybrid applications. Apps, short form of applications. Appium supports these three types of mobile software applications: native applications, mobile web applications, hybrid applications. What are native applications? Brief idea. Get brief idea. Native apps live on the device and are accessed through icons on the device home screen. They are installed through an application store such as Google Play or Apple's App Store, etc. Next, mobile web applications. Web apps are not real apps. They are websites stored on a remote server and delivered over the internet through a web browser. Next, hybrid applications. Hybrid apps are like native applications run on the device. They have integration with a device's file system and integration with web-based services. See, they can interact with internet, integration with web-based services. Okay. See, first native applications. Native native apps. Native apps live on the device, live on the device and are and are accessed accessed through through icons on the device home screen, on the device home screen home screen. See, native apps live on the device and are accessed through icons on the device home screen. They are installed through an app store. They are installed installed through an application store application store. For example, such as google google play google play. Next, apple's app store. See, these are native applications. Next, mobile web applications. Web apps are not real apps, they are websites. See, web apps web apps are not real apps, real applications, real apps. Uh, they are websites. They are websites, websites stored on a remote server, stored on a remote server, remote server, and delivered over the internet, and delivered over the internet through a web browser, through a web browser. Okay. Next, come to hybrid apps. Hybrid apps are like native apps. Hybrid apps are like native apps. Native apps run on the device, not on the browser. Run on the device. They have integration with the device file system and web services. They have integration. They have integration with devices file system, file system and integration with web services. Integration with web services. Okay. See, native applications, mobile web applications, hybrid applications. Appium supports these three types of mobile software applications. Appium is an open source test automation framework for automating mobile software applications, uh, launched in launched in 2012. Okay. Come to next point. Appium supports Android and iOS devices. It drives iOS and Android apps using the WebDriver protocol. See, Appium Appium supports Appium supports Android Android and iOS devices. iOS devices. It drives it drives iOS and Android apps. iOS, just a minute. iOS and Android apps using the WebDriver protocol, Selenium WebDriver protocol. See, relation is there in between Selenium and Appium. Appium uses WebDriver protocol. Apps using WebDriver protocol. Okay. See here, Android, iOS. See, I will introduce Android and iOS. In this second point, I've used Android and iOS. What is Android? Android. Next, what is iOS? iOS. First, Android. Android is an open source operating system for mobile devices such as smartphones and tablet computers. It owned by Google, offering users access to Google's own services like Search, YouTube, Maps, Gmail, and more. See, Android. Android is an open source, is an open source, open source operating system for mobile devices, not for computer devices, desktop and laptops. Mobile devices for mobile devices such as smartphones, smartphones, next tablet computers, tablet computers. It owned by Google. It owned by Google. Next, offering users access to Google services, uh, Google Google's own services, Google's own services. like search YouTube, next maps, Gmail, etc. Okay, this is about Android. Next, iOS, iPhone operating system, is a mobile operating system developed by Apple Inc. Incorporation and distributed exclusively for Apple hardware. It presently powers many of the company's mobile devices, including the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. See, iPhone, iOS, iOS, iPhone operating system, operating system is a mobile operating system, is a mobile operating system developed by Apple, developed by Apple, Apple Inc. Incorporation, and distributed exclusively exclusively for Apple hardware, for Apple hardware. Now it presently powers many of the company's mobile devices, many of the companies, many of the companies' mobile devices, mobile devices, including the iPhone, iPhone, iPad, and iPod, iPod, iPod Touch. Okay, this is about iOS. Android, iOS. They are mobile operating systems. Next, come to third point. Third point. Appium enables iOS and Android automation using Selenium WebDriver. The same WebDriver bindings can be used across web and mobile. See, third point. Appium enables iOS and Android automation. Appium enables Android and iOS automation using Selenium WebDriver. Selenium WebDriver. The same WebDriver binding can be used across web and mobile. Web and mobile. Okay. Next, fourth point. It is cross-platform, single API application programming interface, works for both Android and iOS platforms. See, fourth one, it is cross-platform. Appium is cross-platform. Appium is cross-platform. Single API, single API application programming interface works for both Android and iOS platforms. Meaning, suppose if you create test scripts for Android, you can use same test scripts for iOS also. You no need to create tests for iOS platform separately. If you create tests for Android, those can be used for iOS also. Same API works for both Android and iOS. Next, fifth one. Appium supports all languages that have Selenium client libraries like Java, PHP, Ruby, Python, C Sharp, etc. to write test scripts. See, you can use any one of these languages for writing Appium scripts. See, Appium supports all languages that have Selenium client libraries like Java. You can use either Java or hypertext preprocessor PHP or Ruby or Python or C Sharp.net, etc. To create test scripts. Okay. Next, Appium supports software test automation on simulator or emulator and physical mobile device too. See, observe this point carefully. Appium supports software test automation on simulator or emulator and physical mobile devices too. Say, suppose if you are not able to use real mobile devices, then you can use emulator or simulator. These are virtual devices. Suppose if you want to execute your mobile test cases on 20 different types of mobile devices, different vendors, different configurations, different resolutions, etc. If you want to execute 20 different types of mobile devices, you no need to purchase them all. You can create virtual environment for those 20 devices and execute mobile tests. Say, anyhow, Appium supports real devices as well as virtual devices. See, this is important point. See, sixth one. Apm. Apm supports software test automation, software test automation on emulators, emulators or simulators, simulators and physical devices, real devices and physical devices too. Say emulator or simulator, emulator or simulator. See, testing on real mobile devices is expensive. Emulators and simulators are virtual environments, not only expand our testing coverage to more devices, but also quick and easy way to test. See, testing on real devices, testing on real devices is expensive. Emulators, emulators or simulators are virtual environments, virtual, virtual devices, virtual devices, virtual environments, not only expand our testing, not only expand our testing coverage, testing coverage to more devices, to more devices, but also quick and easy way to test, but also quick and easy way to test. Okay, this is about emulators and simulators. Appium supports software test automation on virtual devices and real devices. Okay, next, last point. Prerequisites to use Appium. See, prerequisites, prerequisites, prerequisite. Just a minute. Prerequisite to use Appium. To use Appium. See, I will list out the software one by one. Android SDK, Android ESDK, software development kit. Next, JDK, Java development kit, Java development kit. Next, TestNG framework, TestNG testing framework. Next, Eclipse. Next, Selenium server jar, Selenium server jar. Next, WebDriver language binding library, WebDriver, Selenium WebDriver language binding library. Suppose if you want to use Java for scripting, test scripts, Java for writing test scripts, you download Selenium WebDriver Java language binding. If you want to use Ruby, download WebDriver Ruby language binding, like that. Next, Appium for Windows. Appium for Windows. See, these are the prerequisite to use Apm. Prerequisite to use Apm. Android SDK, Software Development Kit. Next, Java Development Kit. Next, TestNG Testing Framework. Next, Eclipse. Next, Selenium Server Jar. Selenium WebDriver Language Binding Library. Next, Appium for Windows. See, this is a brief introduction about Appium mobile testing software. See, 7 points we discussed. See once again, Appium is an open source test automation framework for automating mobile software applications, native applications, web apps, and hybrid applications. It was launched in 2012. Next, Appium supports Android and iOS devices. Next, Appium enables Android and iOS automation using Selenium WebDriver. Next, Appium is cross-platform. Single API works for both Android and iOS. Okay. Next, Appium supports all languages that have Selenium client libraries like Java, PHP, Ruby, Python, C Sharp, etc. to write test scripts. Next, Appium supports software test automation uh, using real devices or virtual devices. Okay, thank you.